You know that little voice in your head? Yeah, that one. Sometimes it's your biggest cheerleader telling you you got this, but other times it's your harshest critic just replaying every single mistake on a loop. Well, what if the biggest battle you'll ever fight isn't out there somewhere, but it's right here for control of your own mind? Let's dive in.
I mean, it really boils down to this, right? Is your mind helping you steer towards your goals like a trusted co-pilot? Or has it kind of hijacked the whole operation, sending you into a nosedive of negative thoughts, jealousy, and endless distraction? Honestly, the answer to that question can literally define your entire life.
And believe it or not, this isn't some new self-help idea. Thousands of years ago, the Bhagavad Gita laid out what's basically a user manual for the human mind. And it says right here, loud and clear, you and only you have the power to turn that inner voice from your worst enemy into your most powerful ally. This image really lays it out perfectly. It shows the two paths your mind can take. On one side, you've got a trained, disciplined mind that leads to growth and real strength. And on the other, well, you have an unchecked mind that just spirals into negativity and self-sabotage. To see what this looks like in the real world, let's look at two characters from a timeless story who are perfect examples of these two extremes. So, first up, let's take a look at what happens when the mind goes rogue and becomes the enemy. Our key study for this is a prince named Duryodhana, a guy whose internal chaos created total external destruction. For Duryodhana, it all started with one single toxic feeling: envy. He saw his cousins, the Pandavas, getting all this praise and success, and instead of being inspired, he just let jealousy completely consume him. That one thought was like a seed that would eventually grow into his complete and total ruin. And what's wild is that the Bhagavad Gita maps out this exact psychological breakdown. It's like a step-by-step guide to self-destruction. It shows how Duryodhana's obsession led to attachment. Attachment turned into this burning desire for power, and when he couldn't get it, that desire just exploded into rage. The anger clouded his judgment, which led to delusion, which led to terrible decisions, and finally, boom, complete ruin. It's a perfect and absolutely devastating chain reaction. And you gotta understand that these weren't just passing bad moods for him. This stuff became his entire personality. His own mind, which was now his number one enemy, was completely driven by arrogance, uncontrollable anger, and just total ignorance to his own flaws. With all that going on inside his head, a devastating war was pretty much guaranteed to happen. Okay, but that's the cautionary tale. That's one path. What does the opposite look like? So now let's flip the script and turn to our hero, Arjuna. He chose a different path. He decided to take control, to master his mind, and turn it into his greatest asset. Arjuna's skill with a bow and arrow was legendary, but it wasn't magic and it wasn't luck. It was built on an insane amount of discipline. I mean, there's this incredible story about him practicing archery in the pitch black of night, training his mind to aim without even needing his eyes. See, he wasn't just training his arms, he was training his mind to completely shatter its own perceived limits. And this is a perfect example of something modern psychologists call delayed gratification. You've probably heard of the marshmallow experiment, right? Where they gave kids one marshmallow and told them if they could wait, they'd get two later. Well, the kids who could wait turned out to be more successful in life. That's exactly what Arjuna was doing. He was choosing the short-term pain of discipline for the massive, long-term reward of true mastery. And the Gita has this absolutely beautiful way of describing this process. It says that the things that lead to true happiness often feel like poison at the start. You know, the struggle of practice, the burn of discipline. But if you stick with it, it turns into nectar at the end, that incredible feeling of accomplishment and self-realization. Arjuna basically chose to drink the poison of hard work so he could taste the nectar of becoming the best. So what was his secret sauce? Well, as you can see, it wasn't just one thing. He didn't just practice archery, he mastered his entire life. He was super disciplined about his diet, his exercise, his sleep. He trained his mind to stay focused and emotionally balanced. And this is key. When he felt frustrated or angry, he didn't let it explode like Duryodhana. He actually channeled that energy into even deeper focus. He literally turned his mind into a precision tool. Okay, so what is the ultimate goal here? What is this peak state of a mastered mind? Well, it's a concept that both ancient wisdom and modern psychology agree on, and today we call it flow. You've probably felt this before. A psychologist named Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi first described it. Flow is that feeling of being completely in the zone.
It's when you're so absorbed in what you're doing, the time just seems to melt away, your focus is laser sharp, and you feel this deep, genuine enjoyment in the process itself. But here's the thing, you can't just stumble into a flow state. It happens in this sweet spot where the challenge of what you're doing perfectly matches your skill level. It has to be hard, but not so hard that it's impossible. It requires intense concentration and, really importantly, intrinsic motivation. That means you're doing it for the love of the game, not just for a trophy at the end. That image of Arjuna practicing in total darkness, that is a perfect picture of flow. And this is where it gets totally mind-blowing. The Bhagavad Gita has its own word for this state of flow. It's called karma yoga. The idea is actually pretty simple. Perform your actions and duties to the absolute best of your ability, but, and this is the big but, without being attached to the results. You pour all your focus into the action itself, not the praise or the reward. When you do that, you find this incredible sense of peace and focus. For Arjuna, archery wasn't just about winning battles. It was a form of active meditation. All right, so we've seen the two paths, the enemy within and the ally within. How do we take all this ancient wisdom and actually apply it to our crazy modern lives? How do we start making our mind our friend today? Well, here's a practical toolkit to get you started. So here it is, your toolkit for training your mind. Think of these as reps for your brain. Things like mindfulness and meditation help quiet all that mental chatter so you can actually hear yourself think. Limiting digital distractions, that's huge. You have to guard your focus. Even practicing delayed gratification in small ways, like studying for an hour before you binge that new show, helps build that discipline muscle. And following a solid daily routine creates a stable framework, a kind of personal dharma that helps your mind operate at its best. So in the end, it all comes back to this one choice. Every single day, you can let your mind drift into the modern version of Duryodhana's envy and anger. Endlessly scrolling through social media, comparing your life to everyone else's highlight reel. Or you can choose to consciously build the focus and discipline of Arjuna. So the question is, will you let your mind be your enemy, or will you do the work to train it to be your greatest ally? The choice, as always, is yours.